Take this, all of you, and drink from it." The voice echoed through the stone nave, solemn and low, reverberating off the stained-glass windows like a ghost trapped in ritual. Father Elias had served at St. Mark's Parish for nearly 30 years. His hands, though weathered and trembling, moved with reverence as he lifted the ornate chalice. The congregation, a dwindling group of devout elderly, bowed their heads in obedience. But behind the altar, something had changed. It began during Lent. Father Elias had just finished evening prayers when a chill swept through the confessional. He was about to leave when the curtain rustled. A figure stepped inside. "Bless me, Father, for I have sinned," the voice rasped, dry, hoarse, and unfamiliar. "How long since your last confession?" Elias asked gently. A long silence. Then, "I never left." Elias's breath caught in his throat. "I'm sorry." The man leaned closer. Through the grill, Elias could see eyes. They were not human. Deep red, like dried blood. "You opened the gate. And now, you'll feed me." Before Elias could speak, the booth went deathly cold. He blinked, and the man was gone. Vanished, as if he'd dissolved into the wood. Elias laughed nervously, chalking it up to exhaustion. But that night, he couldn't sleep. The walls groaned like they were breathing. The crucifix on his wall hung upside down in the morning. At first, the wine in the communion chalice began to taste strange. Bitter. Metallic. Sister Agnes, the sacristan, mentioned it in passing. "Did you change the brand?" she asked, wrinkling her nose. "It tastes old." Elias hadn't changed anything. But week by week, the wine grew darker. Not just in flavor, but in color, thicker, sluggish. One Sunday, it didn't pour, it oozed. And then the nosebleeds began. First a choir boy, then a woman in her 60s. Every person who drank from the chalice during Mass reported sudden headaches, fevers, and unexplained bruises. Elias dismissed it as coincidence, until the night he found a dead bird at the foot of the altar. Its wings spread wide, throat slit. Pinned to its chest was a note, "Blood for blood." Sister Agnes was the first to die. She had served St. Mark's since her novitiate. She was beloved, cheerful, and unshakably faithful. But in early April, she fell ill. By Holy Week, she had gone blind. Her final words to Father Elias were whispered as he held her hand, "You have to stop him." "Who, sister?" She turned to him, though she couldn't see. "You know who. The one who calls through the chalice." That night, Elias drained the wine into the earth outside the rectory. It sizzled in the soil like acid. The next morning, the chalice was full again. Desperate, Elias searched the church's archives and found a tattered leather journal in a box labeled, "Sanctified Records, 1846. It belonged to Father Damien Blackwell, the first priest of St. Mark's. His last entry read, "The wine must be blessed, never consumed. He tricked me into drinking it. The voice in the cup is not of God. I sealed him beneath the church with blood and fire. May the next priest have more strength than I." The next page was blank, and wet with a dark red smear. St. Mark's had a forgotten lower level, an ossuary beneath the altar that no one had accessed in decades. Elias knew of it only from whispered legend. He broke the lock with shaking hands and descended with nothing but a flashlight and his rosary. The stairs spiraled into blackness. The air was damp and rotten. At the bottom was a stone chamber lined with skulls. In the center stood a statue, a grotesque imitation of the crucifix, but the figure had no face. In its hands, it held a chalice. The same as the one Elias used at communion. Suddenly, the flashlight died. A voice rose from the dark. "Drink, priest. Let me in." Elias backed away, heart racing. Something moved behind him, slow, scraping steps. Then a hand, cold and wet, gripped his shoulder. Elias woke in his bed. Sunlight streamed through the windows. Has it all been a dream? But his fingers were stained red. The communion chalice lay beside him, full to the brim with blood. He tried to throw it away, to destroy it, but it always returned. And each Sunday, the congregation came. Fewer and fewer. Those who drank fell sick, or worse. Eventually, they stopped coming. Except one. His name was Jonah. 11 years old. His parents had died in a car crash a month prior. The boy came alone, sat in the front pew, and never spoke. One Sunday, he came to receive communion. Elias hesitated. Jonah looked up at him with wide, hopeful eyes. "I want to be like my mom," he whispered. Elias tried to say no. But the voice inside the chalice thundered. "Give me him." Elias's hand trembled. The cup tipped. Jonah drank. Seconds passed. Then Jonah screamed, a horrible, unearthly cry, and collapsed, convulsing. Blood poured from his mouth. His eyes rolled back. And then, silence. Jonah rose. His eyes were red. He smiled. The church was closed within the month. Official cause: asbestos, structural damage, urban decay. But the truth stayed buried, literally. Father Elias never left the church. His final entry in the parish record simply read: "He lives in the blood." The townspeople say the bells of St. Mark's still ring at midnight, though the ropes were cut years ago. Sometimes, a figure can be seen behind the altar, offering communion to no one. They say if you enter and drink, you won't leave. You'll become part of the congregation. Silent. Red-eyed. Waiting. Weeks after Jonah's transformation, they started coming back. Not the townspeople, but the ones who had vanished. The sick, the dying, the ones who'd once sat in those wooden pews now walked the aisles again. Not alive. Not dead. Something else. They didn't speak. They knelt during Mass. They bled from their eyes when Elias lifted the chalice. And when he whispered, "the body of Christ," they smiled with teeth too long, too sharp. Elias locked the church doors. Boarded the windows. But they still came. Crawling from the ground, pouring through shadows, whispering in unison. "You are the priest of the cup." One cold morning, Elias received a letter. No stamp. No name. Just a wax seal, a single drop of blood. Inside was a folded piece of parchment, ancient and brittle. It read: "This is not your curse alone. He was worshipped before Christ walked Calvary. The blood chalice is the last relic of the red god, Yathralith, the thirsting one. Burn the body. Seal the crypt. And whatever you do, do not drink." There was one more thing in the envelope. A photograph. It showed Father Elias as a young seminarian, smiling. Behind him, unnoticed until now, was Jonah, standing in the background, looking exactly as he did now. He knew what he had to do. Elias gathered salt. Holy water. Ashes from Sister Agnes's rosary. He returned to the ossuary with trembling hands. The statue still stood. The chalice now pulsed, like a heart. He poured the salt in a circle. Whispered every rite he had learned. The room screamed. The skulls on the walls began to laugh. The blood boiled in the cup, then overflowed. From the shadows, Jonah stepped forward, mouth sewn shut, eyes glowing red. Behind him, the congregation followed. 100 souls bound in flesh and silence. "You failed," 1,000 voices said from one mouth. Elias fell to his knees. "Please, let them go. The voice laughed. You already did. Then Jonah opened his sewn mouth. The church burned that night. Locals say lightning struck the steeple, though there were no clouds. Firefighters arrived too late. Everything was gone. Everything except the altar, and the chalice, sitting unburned in the ash. There was no sign of Father Elias. Only his rosary, melted and black. Some say he escaped. Others believe he's buried beneath the stones, forever bound in communion with the thirsting one. But every year, on the eve of Holy Week, the church ruins bleed. Blood runs down the stones. And a boy named Jonah walks the town. Still 11. Still smiling. They built a shopping center over St. Mark's remains. But the ground never stays clean. Security cameras go static at midnight. Workers vanish. And every so often, someone finds a cup, gold, ornate, full of warm, dark liquid, just sitting there on the floor. One janitor drank it. Just once. He was never found again, except for the blood trail that led to the mop closet. On the wall, written in red, was a message. The Mass never ends. Drink, and become eternal. The cup waits. The priest still prays. And the blood of St. Mark's will never run dry. Thanks for watching. If this story sends chills down your spine, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss a tale from the shadows. Do you believe the priest was ever truly freed? Or is the chalice still waiting for its next victim? Share your thoughts in the comments below, if you dare. Until next time. Stay out of the crypts. And whatever you do, don't drink.